Welcome to the newest episode of Awful Okay Awesome, the one show that is about stories of trials and tribulations turned into passion and purpose. And I'm here with our guest, Jennie Askins, who's going to tell us about a time in her life that felt truly chaotic, out of sorts, and how she utilized that and turned it into her passion and purpose of helping others through flow and balance. And I don't want to forget to mention our wonderful sponsors, Black Aswad Coffee Company. They are the one and only coffee that not only has the ability to enrich your life with bold flavors, but every ounce, every drop, every grain of coffee goes to benefit organizations in the mental health industry that help those experiencing mental health issues. It's a cause that's near and dear to our heart, and it does look like we are live. And so, Jennie, before I go on or continue, I just want you to get right into it. Tell us your story.
Thanks, Marta, and thanks for having me on today. So my story started back in 2014. That's when I was going through a divorce. I had two little ones, my youngest daughter was 6.5 months at the time, and I had a little over a 2 year old. And so, my kids were babies. It was a very scary time for me, but prior to that, 20 years prior to that, I had learned meditation and mindfulness. I had met a woman out west who had taught me how to meditate, had taught me mindfulness, some breath work techniques, because I was getting a lot of anxiety. So at this point, I'm in my early 20s. At the time, in my early 20s, it had really helped me just feel relaxed and feel really good. So fast forward, here I am, 2014. I'm going through a divorce, single mom, life's feeling scary. And I started meditating and doing mindfulness because I remembered how much that had helped me prior in my early 20s when I had a lot of anxiety and I was feeling really stressed. Every morning, I would wake up, I would pray, I would meditate, I started journaling, and I would do this as often as I could at that time. At least one day a week, I would try and wake up before my kids, and if not, I would lay them next to me and I would do a meditation. And I noticed slowly I started feeling better. I started getting out of, the depression that I was in, going through a divorce, being a single mom, plus my kids were so little at the time that I feel like I was dealing with a lot of hormonal stuff. So I noticed all of the thing, like all the negative ways that I was feeling stressed out and overwhelmed was starting to lift. And then when I would be overwhelmed on days, I was able to like bounce back a lot quicker. I really do contribute that to meditation, the mindfulness, the journaling, and then I worked out. But I have always worked out. So that wasn't really anything new at that time, but I also think that was really helping. And so when I started feeling a lot better about a year in, a little over a year, I thought, like, I really want to be able to bring this to other people. I really want other people to see the benefits from the meditation and mindfulness. I mean, I know how many people are on medication for anxiety and depression and, just overwhelm. And so I had studied under Michael Plasha and had gotten certified in meditation and mindfulness. And then about a year later, I had studied under a woman, Emily Fletcher, who is based out of New York City at the time. I had taken some of her classes. And it took me a while to feel comfortable to bring meditation, mindfulness to others. So I started a single mom group back in 2017. Well, it was a single mom empowerment group. We would meet weekly and I would start doing the meditations and the mindfulness there. And I was starting to see how much it was helping other women. And then I slowly started getting clients, started working with men. And I noticed at that time that also helped me feel freer financially too, because, I'm raising two daughters by myself. And a 9 to 5 job just really wouldn't work for me. And so I started Mind Body Shift, where I teach meditation, mindfulness. I went and got certified in life coaching through Life Purpose Institute out of San Diego, California. And then 2 years ago in 2023, I had gotten certified as a yoga instructor. So now I, have the meditation, mindfulness, life coaching, and I'm also a yoga teacher. I do stuff for like businesses and individuals, and it had just really helped me gain that financial freedom. It had also helped me gain confidence within myself that, okay, I can do this. It took a while, but I really started feeling empowered when I had started the single mom group, and then I had went into my own business. My background's in marketing, but most of the time with marketing, you're working long hours, you're working out of the house. And I use my marketing for my own business, but I chose not to go that route. So that's kind of, where I am now. Now I'm in such a different space. Now I feel that I really have such a great flow to my life. I love to help other people going through divorce. I mean, I also work with men too. Back in 2018, I had wrote a book, Connecting Within, that is for single mom. Well, I shouldn't just say it's not just for single moms. It's for new moms trying to find their balance, trying to find their way. I have meditations at the end of each chapter, affirmations. I have different questions, like prompts to really kind of help you find yourself, rediscover yourself. When you become a new mom, it's so hard. You really lose a sense of your identity. You're gaining a new identity and a beautiful new identity, but at the time it takes a bit to find your footing. It took me a while. So not only was I a new mom, but then also going through a divorce, trying to kind of rediscover, like, who am I? And that took a while.
Yeah, I bet. And speaking of being a mom, if you hear my kiddos in the background, I want you, if you're drinking coffee, I guarantee it's not as delicious as this one, but if you're drinking coffee, actually, I'm sure it is just as delicious. Take a sip every time you hear one of my kids in the background, or if you hear Jenny's dog, because that's
Yeah.
just motherhood, and that's what the show is all about, is just the imperfectly perfect of life. So I didn't know that, or maybe I did know that we have that very much in common. In fact, I still have my sign from my marketing agency that I actually closed at the beginning of this year. Because it came to completion, and it was not, and it's something that I talk about in a chapter that actually Jenny and I are in together. But I use my marketing skills for my new financial rep business. Everything that I learned to grow that business, and I grew it to heights that were, I'm very proud of myself, because I created something out of nothing that was very lucrative for a very good bit of time, and it just came to a head. It came to an end. And so we have that in common in regards to running a marketing agency, and just not feeling like it was for us, but everything that we learned through that endeavor, um, we get to we get to apply that to our businesses now. So I want to ask you, now that you have all these tools, right? And I like to just say, even like as a financial rep, like I'm not perfect, and that's what makes me so good at my job at helping others, because I've taken big risks and I've made big mistakes. That's how I get to be a loving and non-judgmental space for my clients. Do you have times that still come up for you that you're like, oof, I thought I was over that, but now you have a tool in your toolbox?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I have days where, yes, I'm feeling extremely overwhelmed, and days where, when you have kids, things don't go as planned. I may have my day planned, then one of my kids gets sick at school or something comes up. So I definitely have days that are so out of balance, chaotic, or I'll be super stressed out. And right, with those tools in my toolbox, they definitely do help. But again, we're all human, and I tell my clients that too. Like, you have to really go easy on yourself. And the one thing that doing this work has taught me, and diving into the classes of the meditation and the mindfulness, I've really learned to sit also with the chaos and the overwhelm, not to run from it. I think so many times as people, when we're feeling what we consider a negative emotion, when it's really just a normal human emotion, but when we're feeling, stressed out or sad or grief or whatever have you, instantly the mind, the body wants to run from it. But what's really important during those times is to just really sit with it and know that it's going to pass. So that is what's really helped me, is to know, okay, this is normal. And yeah, I mean, I'm having a chaotic day. I'm having things aren't going as planned, but everything works out. And so
Mhm.
I think just to be able to embrace the overwhelm and the stress and not try to right away run from it, or, I mean, just and go easy on yourself. Have compassion
Yeah,
for yourself.
definitely give yourself grace and
Yeah.
allow it to exist. And that was something that I had worked on for years is I wanted those feelings to not exist. I just wanted happy feelings. That's all I wanted. But obviously that which you resist persists, right? And so I
100%.
wouldn't let the negativity exist. I would just like shift to positive. And honestly, it kind of bit me in the butt when my mom was diagnosed with cancer the fourth time, which again I'll talk about in our book,
Mm.
because she had beat cancer three times. And I would go to plan ahead and my siblings would be like, I don't know that mom's going to be able to do that. And I would be like, think positively, don't put that out in the universe. And it just so happened that the things that I was planning ahead for, she wasn't even alive anymore by that time. And I didn't let myself experience how bad it was. I wonder also if it was hormones, because I was due with my baby literally up to the day that she died. He was born 2 weeks prior, and that's part
Oh
of the
my goodness.
story.
Okay.
And I didn't. It was like, everything's hunky dory. She's gonna be fine. This is no big deal. Like she was literally, it was traumatic, though, how much pain she was in. Not to
Mm.
make her pain about me, but I would witness her literally shriveled up in pain because of her cancer in front of me. And the nurses would come by and say, Are you doing okay? And I'd be like, Yeah, I'm fine. And it's like, No, you're not, you know? Uh,
Right.
so because I was so dead set on everything is awesome. If you have kids, you know that anytime you say everything is awesome, that song just pops up in your mind. But I also do find that, I like to find humor in everything, even the darkest of days. And I think that helps too. So, what do you recommend somebody does once they've allowed those feelings to exist? What could they do to shift into something new?
So when you allow those feelings to exist, I would say first and foremost, so breathe into them. I think, take some deep breaths, breathe into them, visualize them being released. Now, something new would be, to either journal or to just tell yourself a different story, because a lot of times when we're feeling so overwhelmed or these emotions, it's the story we're telling ourselves. So if you can observe the thoughts and the story you're telling yourself, changing it to a new story.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, some of the things that I like to do, and tell me if I'm on the right track, I like to show my brain the different truth, right? So maybe if you're having an instance where you're feeling like, oh, I'm no good at what I'm doing, show your brain all of the instances when the clients were happy and you helped someone, right? Remind your brain of those
Absolutely.
things.
And
What are some other gratitude? Okay.
gratitude goes such a long way. I mean, even if every morning and every night before you go to bed, you pick at least three things that you're grateful for. I mean, it could be so simple as, a warm day or a warm cup of coffee. It could be something that simple. And doing that on a daily basis, studies have even shown have actually created neural pathways in the brain and helped kick those good chemicals up, opposed to, when we're talking negative to ourselves or looking always on the negative side. And again, I'm a realist. So even when I work with people, I'm not about where you have to always be 100% positive, because life doesn't work that way. And I do think we need to look at things in a real way. But at the same time, when we're looking at something, there are always, there's not everything's black and white, right? So there's that neutral ground. So we tell ourselves the stories, and I really believe that's what creates a lot of sometimes the feelings, that those negative feelings, when you're telling yourself a lot of negative things.
Yeah. It's so funny that you're using exact words that we were just having a conversation about with my husband on the way back home, because we had a very difficult morning. It was a very intense, there's some important things going on in our lives, and we were just facing it head on this morning. And I he lovingly will say like that I'm exhausting, because I try to allow his feelings to exist, because they need to exist. It's not, we don't push them aside. But then I try to give him, it's so ingrained with all the people that I've worked with, to try to then, okay, now shift it into, okay, if you're saying everything is hard, everything is so hard, you're kind of, yes, allow those feelings to exist, but then you're just continuously putting that out in the universe, and that's what the universe is going to give you right back to you. And so I will remind him, if let's say that's an example, and I'm not saying that's what happened, then I'll say, well, try to some affirmations in those moments to retrain your brain and literally rewrite your cells,
Mhm.
and use words like, everything is easy. Everything happens for me. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And others might ask questions like, well, what would be the reasoning for this to happen? And it's sometimes you don't even know. Your guides and God are working for you, and you don't even know. You don't know. You'll never know. But just trust that it's all unfolding as it should, and you just keep moving forward, doing the best that you can, and just know that everything is happening as it should. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. And I work with a plethora of different clients. As I said, men, women. I work with, people that are in upper management in companies, entrepreneurs. And so a lot of people that I have noticed that I work with that don't have a spiritual foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't see underneath it all. There's a method to the madness. I notice have a harder time switching to, this is happening to me opposed to for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do
Yes.
believe it's very important to have some kind of spiritual foundation, whatever that looks like. So, mine is God. I believe, in God. And so I pray a lot. And when I'm meditating, I feel like I'm really connecting with my higher self and God. And, I sit in silence a lot. That really helps me to really kind of listen, tap into my intuitive nature. But the people I work with that don't have that solid spiritual foundation, I do feel that a lot of like CBT, that cognitive behavioral therapy, helps. So, again, counteracting the thought, telling yourself a new story. When you have a good spiritual foundation, though, I have noticed it is easier to really embrace the challenges in life because
Mm-hmm.
they do help us grow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it in my life and I still continue to see it time and time again through sometimes the grief and the sadness. I had just lost my dad. It's been a year. It was a year, June 9th. So just a few days ago. And I mean, that was the 9th was a really hard day for
Mm-hmm.
me. But again, as much as I miss my dad, I think it would be very hard for me if I didn't have that higher faith and belief that, one, he's still with me, but two, this is just how life, where I mean, things just unfold the way that they should. These aren't
Yeah.
things that are bad things happening to us.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't know that you lost your dad, and
So I'm
thank you
writing
for
about
sharing
that in
that.
the I'm writing about that in the book. So it was interesting when you said
There's a
about
lot
your
of
mom.
synchronicity. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm writing, my chapter is on losing my dad and how in the beginning it did test my faith. And I'm a person of strong faith. I was
Mm-hmm.
raised, Catholic. My kids go to Catholic schools and I'll still go to church, but I would consider myself more spiritual than religious. But I definitely questioned a lot of things when I had lost my dad.
Yeah. And now I get to call, this morning when it was a very important pivotal moment, I get to call on my mom for help, to give me strength. And it was a it you could say that it was almost a complete shit show how it went down this morning, but because I know to a core that everything works out for me, that that moment, even this morning, it didn't even affect me in terms of emotionally. I was just like, okay, well, this isn't going to be acceptable. This isn't going to be how it ends. So I actually then continued the experience until I was able to get a resolution that I felt good, because I knew that that's not what was in the cards, and I believed it, and it's going to be a continuing experience, but I just know that in the end it will all work out as it should, even if I'm not going to like the way that it's going to continue to unfold.
And I'm exactly with you, Marta. I feel it in my core that things do happen for us. They happen for our growth.
Mhm.
They happen for, to go spiritually deeper. I see it in my life every day, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that we are getting to have this moment of connection, and that's what the show is all about, because I think as more and more people come out and share the truth behind all the good, and how that truth is actually all the good as well. And as previously mentioned, Jenny and I have a book coming out together
I can't wait.
along with 14 other women who are going to be sharing stories of trials and tribulations turned into passion and purpose. We both just gave a little bit of a sneak peek of what you can expect in the book, but we were already getting some feedback, and it's some good stuff in there. It's going to be our third bestseller, because I'm calling it into existence that it's
Cannot
going to be
wait.
a bestseller. And I've got my previous bestseller here as a previous anthology. If you want a little bit of a preview of what to expect in the next book, you can purchase this anthology. And as always, I have my first bestseller, The Minimalist Method, The Emerging Entrepreneur's Guide to Peace and Prosperity. And actually, I wrote this before shit hit the fan the past couple of years, but it all still stands true. And these are all very good foundational practices that are rinse and repeat for no matter what business you have going on. Hey, Bob.
I know she keeps like pawing at my leg. So
I
I thought,
love
well,
her. Oh
I'll
my
pick
gosh,
her up. She can say hello.
my dog would be doing the same exact thing
She's
at my
like,
legs right now. Yes, he would be doing the same exact thing. It looks like she's freshly groomed.
she is.
Yes. I mean, and some of us who are listening are gonna, you can't see the dog, but just trust me, she's adorable. Okay.
Normally, she doesn't keep her bow, and I'm so surprised she's going on like day 4 of
That's
bow. I know.
awesome. Yeah, she has a Bowen. So if you're listening and not watching, maybe you need to head on over to my Facebook to watch the live recording, because then you get to see the dog. But if you're not watching on Facebook already. So if you guys want to pick up the book that Jenny and I have coming out, it will be called Course Corrected, because it's all about people's paths that are interjected by something bigger, something more, and whether it's good or bad, it's transformational for each of the women in the book. And I do not want to forget, and I have some big news. I didn't even tease this leading up to this episode. I have some big news in regards to our sponsor. You actually will have the ability to win yourself some coffee donated by Black Aswad Coffee Company. And all you have to do is look out for our reel that's going to be coming out this week on my Instagram at Marta Saray Greca, and also on their Instagram, Black Aswad Coffee's Instagram, on exactly how to win your free coffee. Stay tuned. But this is the bold taste that benefits those in the mental health industry. This is a new blend than the ones that I've been featuring. Obviously, I drank all of them up. Black Aswad Coffee Company sent me this new featured blend, and it's called Haven, and it truly is Haven on Earth. It was a play on words. I know, you know what I'm saying. But I am Marta Saray Greca. I'm your host. I'm a financial rep. And just like we discussed with Jenny, in terms of taking a situation and utilizing it to your best benefit, that's what I do with you and your financial house. We take a look at your entire financial picture. And because I have been there, done that, there's zero judgment on any space, whether you're doing phenomenally well. I've been there. And whether you could use some help to plan forward, I've been there. And most of the time, clients cry happy tears because we have a beautiful place and plan in place. They cry happy tears because they're doing way better than they thought, or we get to celebrate that they are right on track to where they'd like to be. And that's what I want to do for you. We account for every dollar, how to grow it and how to protect it and how to save you some money too. And Jennie, any last words before we head on out?
I would say that my advice would be, if you don't have some kind of a spiritual foundation or some kind of daily practice you do, whether it's gratitude practice or sitting in silence or meditation, I would definitely say to look into that and see what resonates with you. I think it is so crucial, not only to our mental health, but to really create the joy and the miracles in our everyday life and to be able to see them.
I completely agree. I'm a mom of seven. I've got multiple businesses, and if I don't have time, which that's a human construct, that's a whole other philosophical discussion we could have on another day. But if I don't have time for anything else, the main thing that happens in the morning is I just sit and I drink half of my intake of water in silence before anybody else wakes up.
Mhm.
And maybe I shift into meditation. Maybe I shift into physical therapy, was it's just essentially light yoga. Maybe I shift into a walk before I start on my daily work towards my daily goals before everybody wakes up. But if anything else, it's just that those 5 minutes of silence, just sitting honestly in gratitude, looking out at the view of the lake, and just no matter what's going on in the world, how blessed I am and how blessed we all are, no matter what. Right.
Absolutely. At 100%.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jennie, for being here, and thanks
Thank you,
everybody
Marta, for having me.
for listening or watching, depending on the platform that you're on. And again, depending on the platform that you're on, we sincerely appreciate you being here. And please leave us a 5-star review if you can on the platform. Drop us a comment. Tell us where you're listening from. Subscribe, like, share. Please help us share these stories so that we can provide hope and light throughout the world with everything we have to say. Have a good one. Bye.